Unspoken issues.
All right, well, let's get into the third part here. Darkhold, Pages from the Book of Sins, number 11. The story is titled Doomsday. This was on the shelves June 8th of 1993. This, as we finish out our first three, Ghost Rider crashes through Transcorp's atrium, begging the Darkhold Redeemers. Ghost Rider's not in a good shape here, if I remember correctly. Like he needs a little. He's a little out of breath.
He did get run through by Blade. I'm sorry, Switchblade.
Switchblade. So he's actually, he needs some help from the Redeemers, and he shows up, and he's kind of having a hard time getting it out there. Here are our Darkhold Redeemers: Louise Hastings, Vicky Montesi, Professor Sam Buchanan, and I think that's all three of them.
Louise's grandson thought L.A. was jamming.
Yes, it was. What is his name? I wanted to call him Portal. That is not it. Shoot.
I just remember the only mystical aptitude he demonstrated in this issue, I think, was that Orlando Magic hoodie.
Oh, yeah. Pretty sweet.
I have his name here somewhere, but I'm not going to go looking for it.
Jinx.
Jinx. There we go. Okay. All right. So Ghost Rider crashes through Transcorp's atrium, begging the Darkhold Redeemers for help, and Frank Drake arrives to explain the nightmare. Blade read a Darkhold page, become the Demogorge, empowered Switchblade, and slaughtered Hannibal King and Johnny Blaze. Switchblade storms in,
and Demogoblin.
And Demogoblin, that's true. Can't forget him. Switchblade storms in, but a newly returned Modred the Mystic, now openly wielding Darkhold power, hammers him with elemental fury and even flings him skyward. Modred lays out the stakes. Chthon's safeguard has birthed a new Demogorge that won't stop until all magic is devoured. He teleports young Jinx to safety. There he is. Then wades back into the fight with Switchblade. As Switchblade returns, detonates a pumpkin bomb, and the melee escalates until Modred topples an entire skyscraper to contain the monster. Amid rescue efforts, Modred declares the Demogorge slain, only for Switchblade to rise from the mist, boasting he absorbed the vampire's powers and can't be killed that easily. Modred drags the battle to Central Park to spare civilians. Yeah, end quotes. But Switchblade's evolving arsenal overwhelms him. In a brutal finale, Switchblade cuts through Vicky to reach Modred and drains the sorcerer's power, crowing that he has become what he hates to annihilate it. The stolen magic backfires. With Modred's memories and binding, Switchblade inherits the Gaius tying Modred to Maui's soil, which is now violated, so the curse tears him apart from within and stalls his regeneration. Seizing the opening, Drake urges Ghost Rider to finish the job. Ghost Rider insists the true play is the Darkhold's counterspell that only a non-mystic can cast. I can't remember if that's Ghost Rider that does that, or if I can't remember if it's somebody else, but as Switchblade convulses... Go ahead.
I think Modred... Didn't Modred convey that to somebody? Or?
Either way, we got to get... The only way to possibly kill Switchblade is to have this spell read by somebody that doesn't have ties to magic. Is that what it was?
Or not mystically empowered, I guess.
Yeah. As Switchblade convulses and the Redeemers steal themselves, they aim to find the book, break the curse, and stop Blade before his borrowed godhood stabilizes and the purge of all things supernatural becomes permanent. We are not anywhere near the end. We got a couple more issues to go. Switchblade is still going strong. Okay. All right, then we'll start talking about the third one here. So we're in the Darkhold. And here's a lot of characters I don't know who they are. I recognize Vicky Montesi, and really, I think my only real exposure to these characters were when we've done these discussions, because I know we've covered a Darkhold issue. It was Rise, the first issue. So Rise of the Midnight Suns, I remember talking about Vicky, and they were just coming together at that point. Louise Hastings, which, again, no idea who she was. And the other guy, whatever his name was again.
Sam something.
Sam Cochran?
Maybe.
Malone?
Buchanan. Sam Malone. Sam Malone.
He's a Fed, I think.
Sam Buchanan. Okay. Oh, yes, that's right. He's the Fed. I remember now. It's coming back to me in little pieces. All right. So, again, on this one, we've got our creative team being Christian F. Cooper is writing this, penciled by Rurik Tyler, Inked by Robert Downs, lettered by Philip Hugh Felix, and colored by Glynis Ween Oliver. Since I don't have any spectacular notes, and I'll probably be jumping off of you guys, I do have some notes on the creative team here. The title of this story was Doomsday. I don't even know if I said all of this, but I feel like I did something. Our writer here...
Did you have any notes on that first splash page?
Our very first the one that actually is a self-infenestration?
Auto-infenestration.
Auto-infenestration.
Writer.
Stepping on my gimmick.
My bad. I thought it was a team thing. My bad.
Well, there's plenty to go around, that's for sure.
All right, so for our writer here, Christian Cooper, he has a small career in the 90s, 91 through 98. He does all 16 issues of Darkhold, pages from the Book of Sins. He was writing for Marvel Comics Presents and then Star Trek Starfleet Academy. So again, a writer who, brought this story, these characters, breathed life into them again with Darkhold pages from the Book of Sins, and then just kind of goes off in the late 90s and is gone. And then Rurik Tyler, he's actually a regular artist on What the? You remember that?
Oh,
yeah.
that makes
It does make sense. What you've probably got some issues of What the, don't you, Evan?
Not really.
Really?
No, not really. Although I did make my own issue when I was in elementary school.
Okay, all right. So then you've had to have been, you know what the book's about. You know how silly it is.
Yeah.
Okay. He starts with Darkhold at issue number 7, and he rides it out to the end, doing various issues here and there. His next most significant run comes in the late 90s, working for DC, where he pencils issue 20 of Scooby-Doo and then starts writing it. This is one of those creators that switches. He does some art, and he also starts writing it later on.
Isn't Darkhold Redeemers essentially 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo?
Yes, if I remember correctly. It was just... Louise was Velma. All right. So, yeah, as I'm scrolling through the book here to make some notes... Again, if Ghost Rider is going to these guys for help, they must mean something. They must be pretty powerful.
Well, they're the experts on the Darkhold, so...
Right. I mean, they've got some knowledge. They are one of the better defenses they probably have against it. Because just like you said, if you wanted to try and stop something that was using that weapon, what better way than to find some people who are experts at what that weapon can do and how to stop things. So we get Modred in this one. Things go off the crazy train in the rails of the crazy train, where Modred versus Blade, it just continues to get worse. Modred brings down the skyscraper, which is insane. Like the one way that you're like, okay, I'm going to try and beat this guy, which Modred, don't know anything about Modred, obviously very powerful sorcerer, brings this building down to try and stop Blade, and Blade just turns to mist and kind of floats up out of it. And after all of these people, I don't know, they call it a skyscraper in the book. So if it's a skyscraper, that's a lot of floors coming down, probably populated by a lot of people. And they make mention of, like, we got to go find some people out, that possible survivors to get them out of here, because the guys are still fighting. In this book, they're still fighting, and I think Louise is the one that's like suggests for them to get out of here, and Modred's like, okay, I'm going to take him to Central Park, and they continue to fight. Modred getting right before the skyscraper comes down, Modred getting hellfire in the face. This is what you're talking about here, Evan, where you were like, how could this be?
No.
Oh no.
No, his Jonah Hex cosplay was not the moment I'm thinking of.
Oh, okay. All right, then. I thought you were talking about yeah.
Flip on over to page 20. No, I'm talking about the spinectomy.
Yeah, where he pulls out... he just kind of casually tosses his spine to the side. After...
He didn't go full Mortal Kombat.
True. To set this up, Modred and Blade, skyscraper's fallen. They finally go out to Central Park. Blade takes Modred's arm off, so he doesn't have an arm, and then Modred's like, okay, enough with this. He reaches in and uses some kind of magic to push his hand through Blade and rip his spine out.
I don't know if that's magic or just brute strength.
That could very well be. Blade is still crawling. He even says, I'll keep coming even if I have to crawl. And then Modred's like, all right, no problem. And then shoves like the spire of earth through him. And you're thinking, what else is it going to take? Here's where Vicky shows up. Because Blade grabs his sword. He's healing really quickly. Modred is standing there and Vicky shows up. Aside from the fact that she's clearly of the bloodline of the Montesses, does she have any other power?
I think this was a hint that she does, but it hadn't been explored yet.
Because she says, you won't hurt someone who's not supernatural. So she stands in between Blade and Modred, and he's like, yeah, that's true. And he does exactly what he did in the last issue. And lo and behold, Chris, you cannot see that sword coming through the back of Modred's jacket.
It's not the hand.
True. What's crazy is, we just watched him put his hand through the body of Blade, but this sword is going through both Vicky and through Modred. At this point, in the first one, he didn't kill Ghost Rider, even though Ghost Rider was in front. This time, he kills both Vicky and Modred here. As far as battles go, I think this is probably the most brutal that we have. Oh, yeah. I'm pretty certain there's still more stuff to come, but the whole Gaius thing where I could be mispronouncing that.
I've only read it. I've never said it or heard it.
Yeah, it's either Gaius or Gaius, something like that. Because it make more sense if it's Gaius, because Gaia is of the earth, and that's what this supposed curse is that Modred has, where he can't leave Maui without having some earth with him from Maui.
Yeah, it was like a spell binding him to Maui.
Yeah. So he thinks he gets one over on Blade because when Modred dies, he also absorbs the curse. And I think he throws the dirt onto the ground. And that, of course, makes Blade a little upset and in pain as well. But I don't know if we find it out here or in a later issue. He just doesn't have to use Modred's power to avoid the curse. So even though it looks like it's kind of like debilitating Blade, we're going to find out later that it's not that big of a deal so long as he doesn't use Modred's power.
Yeah, I was trying to find how to pronounce it. I can't find the pronunciation. I found the definition. It is like a vow or a curse, an idiosyncratic taboo, whether of obligation or prohibition, similar to being under a vow or curse. So it prohibits you from doing something or requires you to do something. I read a book that's like it kind of combines like James Bond stuff with eldritch gods and horror. There was a guy who was under a Gaius where he was like the James Bond figure in some kind of plot.
Okay. Well, that's all my notes. It boils down to a couple things. This is a brutal issue. There's a lot of death and destruction happening. By the end, Blade appears to get more powerful, but sure enough, there's a thing that might keep him in check. Because Modred is pretty powerful. Blade with that power is going to be really formidable. Luckily, we don't know if he's going to be able to do that and use that or not. So I like the issue. It was jam-packed, full of action and craziness. I wasn't too lost. I knew a little bit about the Darkhold Redeemers, and they didn't frequent my comics too often back in the 90s, that's for sure. All right, Chris, I want to give you the floor here, man. What are your notes?
I don't have a whole lot else. The art in this one is pretty mediocre. I think it's more of a tone thing that doesn't really seem to fit. I was surprised that he did so many issues of the Darkhold book. It makes sense that you mentioned he did What the...
Oh, yeah.
Because of some of the kind of cartoony stuff in this. But it's not poorly rendered or anything. I'm not a huge fan of the style with this book. But one thing I do like about the art is the way Tyler shows Ghost Rider being like damaged and in distress. Like, parts of his skull are not on fire. It's almost
Thank
like
you. I did not understand what that was supposed to be.
That's my assumption, is that's a way of showing how bad a shape he's in.
Okay, I like it.
This is the first issue where we really see Blade starting to change color. It's weird because he's a black guy, and now he's taking on this yellowish appearance, almost like a dead body. It looks better in the Ghost Rider, or sorry, the Spirits of Vengeance finale, when he's like basically a rotting corpse.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But it is notable that this is where he kind of takes the change. Jesse was alluding to the Modred versus Switchblade is a pretty epic tussle. A lot of cool stuff with that battle, and we're really seeing Switchblade in this one because he's going from using the vampire powers to become mist to turn into a wolf.
Oh yeah,
the pumpkin bombs he's throwing in there, and then he's got the hellfire shotgun, obviously. So a lot of cool stuff. And this is you're showing how powerful he is, and it seems like he's the one guy who maybe could have put a stop to this, and then even he gets taken down. His power gets added right into the mix with everything else that Switchblade has going. Pretty good issue, yeah. I'm not a huge fan of the art. Well, that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, the fact that Modred is so powerful, it doesn't seem like the Darkhold people like him very well. Vicky running out in front of him and going, he's rotten, but... so...
Yeah, I was looking over the fandom, or actually it's not the Wikipedia, it's the Wikipedia for Modred, and he apparently he is possibly part of the Arthurian legend, because they mentioned that in the Wikipedia.
Oh, okay.
Recognized by Merlin for his magical potential, but he instead of apprenticing under Merlin, he became obsessed with the Darkhold and Chthon, who was the elder god that created the Darkhold. Eventually, he was brought to the 20th century. That's why he talks the way he does, I guess, is because he's from Arthurian times initially. But yeah, powerful sorcerer.
Yeah, I had not seen Modred in a lot of stuff, but he's like the character that I came out of this wanting to know more about. He's super powerful. He wants to help the Darkhold Redeemers, and they're like, oh, good, Modred's here. Thanks. We're so glad. I know Blade has always been kind of a mystical character, but he's more of a brawler, and this was like... I can't think of too many other knockdown dragouts I've seen that mix like magic and physical combat like this. It really was probably the most impressive fight in the whole thing. Brutal and ugly. He drops a skyscraper on him, punches a hole in him, then he's ripping up the earth. It's just like anything goes. There's no rules of engagement there. You know, it's not like, okay, we're going to have a magic duel or we're going to sword fight. It's like, no, I'm just going to hit you with anything and everything I can possibly think of.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll stay down, and maybe not. Chris explained the uneven flames on Ghost Rider's head. We did get an explanation of what the Demo Gorge is. Like, there was a Demo Gorge that almost wiped out all the magical baddies, including Chthon, so he decided to make his own Demo Gorge. Which, I mean, you know, fair point. It's taken out everybody who would oppose his goals. Points to Chthon on that one. Modred had a great entrance. Chris, if it's okay if I can address a shattered window, the window that Ghost Rider breaks when he comes in, as Switchblade kind of has the upper hand, Modred gathers all that glass around him and sends it on Switchblade.
Yeah, that's sick.
He has a great line, maybe even better than Johnny Blaze's in the opener, where he was irritated with Ghost Rider for something, and he says, "Have a care, thou ungrateful Zarathos imposter." You know, referencing the real name of the original Ghost Rider, who was much less concerned with avenging the innocent or setting the right things on fire. But yeah, truly a brutal fight. Not usually my cup of tea, but it fits the story well. I'm not crazy about the art, but I feel like it kind of works here.
All right, well, let's go ahead and pick a panel here. What do I get to? Did I go first yet? I don't think I did.
Go for it.
I'm going for it. I think that I'm going to go with the end when Blade absorbs Modred's power and he starts feeling all of the memories. You could just see his face, and then those memories are showing up around him, and he's screaming in pain. I think that's a really cool looking Blade face. Another good close up, in my opinion. It goes to show you how nasty Blade is turning as he continues to absorb power. All right, Evan, I'll let you go second.
Okay, I know I should probably pick the one where Modred's like wielding all the glass and stuff, but the one that stuck with me throughout the whole thing is, let's see, if we count, I guess when we're not counting covers, so it'd be the last panel on page 3 where they have a moment of respite and Vicky is checking Ghost Rider's pulse. It's like, sure, I'm trying to find the pulse of a skeleton. It's like, easy, Ghost Rider. We'll find a way to fix you up. And I'm like, that's maybe the most relatable thing in this whole, like, everything's crazy. I'm going to do what I can to help. I have no idea what the heck I'm doing. That's totally relatable.
That's a good one. Chris Armstrong, I left you last again. Maybe we took your panels again. Sorry.
I'm going to go with the panel that Evan mentioned, panel 4 on page 5. Yeah, where Modred is whipping up the glass to get ready to toss at a Switchblade.
That's a cool fact.
He looks like a guy from Arthurian times trying to dress like he's in the 90s.
Yeah. He took a cue off of the Avengers. I don't know if the Avengers, they aren't in their leather jacket period yet, are they?
They're probably around this time.
Cersei probably saw Modred and was like, hey, I remember that guy. He's fashionable. Let's do this thing.
The one I picked of the close-up of Blade's face is way better than the one that happens early on in the fight, where it looks like he's turning back into a human when he was a werewolf. And he looks nasty. I think Modred's hit him with some kind of a leash. He starts transforming back into a human, and our artist here decided to catch him mid-transformation, which looks disgusting.
I'm also glad Chris mentioned the changing skin tone thing and handled it in a logical way, because I was like, I don't know what to say, because it's going to sound racist or insensitive. It was just very distracting. So thanks, Chris, for addressing that and playing it straight.
No problem.